Her salary is $170,000 a year. How does she have a net worth of $261 million? Corruption. That's what.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Political corruption is the biggest problem we face. It affects every aspect of our lives, and it has infected every single part of our government, and it is the reason why nothing gets done. Nothing gets done about grocery prices, about rent, about cost of living. Just name it. Nothing gets done because these sociopaths are too busy enriching themselves. They take political campaign donations, which are bribes from billionaires and corporations, and they are doing stock trading because they know what's going to happen before it happens, because they are the ones passing the laws. If a billionaire gives you $100 million, who are you going to work for? The billionaire or the middle class? You're not going to think about us at all because you're working for the people that are providing you money. This is the thing that is affecting all of us. They are trying to divide us. That's what they do. And we're too busy fighting each other while they're becoming millionaires. Let's get into this.
It is wrong fundamentally, and the American people know it's wrong.
When people think of the best investor in the world, the person who knows the stock market best, they often think of Warren Buffett. Buffett regularly beats the market with his investments, netting about a 19% return, which is pretty good. If you put your money in an index fund, you'll often get about 10% a year. So Warren Buffett nearly doubles that. Not bad. But there is one group that beats the market by even wider margins, taking in massive profits. They aren't math geniuses, they aren't experts in statistics, and
it's the politicians. It's the politicians. They are beating even the smartest investors in Wall Street, like Warren Buffett. You know why? Because they know what's going to happen before it happens. They are the ones that pass the laws. If I pass a law that I know is going to do something in the country, right? That moves the market. If you already know what's going to happen, then of course, if you place a bet, you're going to win. You're going to make money. You're going to profit off of the information, the insider trading, the insider information that you have.
And they aren't using an algorithm developed by some tech startup. And they don't work at a stock exchange on the trading floor. They work here, on the floor of Congress. They're your elected representatives, and they are beating the market by margins that make even Warren Buffett look like an absolute chump. We get questions from you, our audience, quite a lot about how members of Congress get so rich. After all, they have a fixed salary. They can't have a bunch of...
Look at this, $261 million. Where did she make all of this money? Where did she make all of this money? She is a public official. She is a public servant. Her salary is $170,000 a year. How does she have a net worth of $261 million? Corruption. That's what. That's where she gets this money. It's utterly disgusting that all of these politicians are filthy rich and we're struggling to pay rent. This is where we're at now. And this is how all of the great empires fell. You look at Rome, you look at all of these empires. Pure corruption and wealth at the top, while the rest of the how many empires have fallen because of this? All the money's at the top and the rest are starving. I mean, come on.
Income on the side or just have another job. Turns out the answer is a little boring. It's mostly be rich already before you're elected to Congress, have a rich spouse, and maybe write a weird book. But there's another big part of the answer, and it's all of this. Play the stock market and do it better than almost anyone else. So how are members of Congress doing this? Did we accidentally elect generationally talented stock traders? Or is something else happening here beneath the surface? This is a look at how members of Congress get rich through some of their most suspicious recent stock trades and what, if anything, can be done about it.
And the reason for all of this is that, quite frankly, members of this body are privy to information that the normal person just is not.
So again, we have plenty of protections. We have the disclosure. This is a completely unnecessary piece of legislation.
We signed up for this job. We knew what the pay was. It isn't a, we're going to pay you this much plus corruption.
How many people in the...
So you have some of these politicians saying, "Yeah, we get paid 170,000. We knew what we signed up for. We shouldn't be stock trading." And the other half's like, "There's no problem here. We should be able to stock trade based off the information that we have that no one else in the public has." But they both don't do anything to stop it. The ones that disagree with it and the ones that agree with it, they are all still doing it. Even the ones that disagree are insider trading. It's insane, and they're not doing anything about it. They haven't passed a single law to stop this.
The audience, how many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor?
Look at this guy.
I don't.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. This guy was actually part of the biggest Medicaid fraud in history. This guy is a thief, and now he's in Congress stock trading.
I'm going to take you back to February 2020. At this point, nobody in the public really knows just how bad this whole coronavirus thing would be. But if you were a US senator who sits on the Intelligence and Health Committees, like Richard Burr, who gets confidential briefings on threats to the US, you might have a pretty good idea of what's coming. Publicly, at the time, Burr seemed confident that this COVID situation wasn't that bad, that the US was ready. On February 7th, he wrote an op-ed for Fox News saying just as much. But on February 13th, just a day later, Burr was dumping his entire portfolio, selling on.
Look at that. This guy knew that the coronavirus was coming before anyone else, before the public. And then he went out and said, no, it's not going to be a big deal. And then went and dumped all his assets out of the market because he knew it was going to crash because of the pandemic. This guy went and made millions of dollars. He didn't lose any money, and then went back and made millions of dollars off of the coronavirus. This is who these people are. This guy is disgusting. What he did is disgusting, and it's pure corruption. He used the coronavirus not to lose money, and then when the market went back up, guess what he did? He put all his money back in the market and made millions of dollars off the coronavirus while millions of people were dying in the country. These are the people, the sociopaths that we have as politicians in our country.
Off a ton of stock, potentially up to $1.7 million worth. But here's the thing, he did all of this while the market was at an all-time high. Why would he do that? Maybe because he was receiving closed-door briefings telling him that this virus was going to be bad for the US economy in a big way. Soon after, the market did crash, the economy did shut down, and Senator Burr miraculously dodged the financial ruin that many of his constituents felt at that time. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, that sounds like it should be illegal, I had the same reaction. And you would be right, sort of. You see, in the United States, we have laws against what we call insider trading.
The buying and selling of stock by...
Those laws are completely useless, and they don't enforce them. There's a law against stock, insider trading, but it's not enforced in Congress. If you're an average normal dude and you insider trade, you go to prison. But if you're part of Congress, you're special, so you don't go to prison.
Corporate insiders who have access to non-public information that could affect the stock price can be a criminal offense.
Now, I don't work for the FBI, but to my untrained eye, this looks a lot like a politician using his insider knowledge to dump his entire stock portfolio before a market crash, all while assuring the public that everything was okay. Apparently, the FBI disagreed because after conducting an investigation, all charges were dropped.
The FBI disagreed because he's special, he's a politician, so, for him, it's not against the law, but for the rest of us average Joes, it's against the law.
Against Senator Burr, and they found no wrongdoing. He got off completely scot-free, which is shocking to me. We have a specific law against insider trading just for members of Congress. It's called the Stock Act. Stop trading on congressional knowledge. Cute, I know. But to me, this law looks like it doesn't work at all. Because here's the thing, Senator Burr, he's not the exception. To better understand how widespread this issue is, and if one party is doing it more than the other,
I sat down with Chris Kardatsky of Quiver Quantitative, a company that uses alternative public data sources to help retail investors make better decisions. Because apparently, one of the best ways to do that is by tracking members of Congress.
Last year, we launched a portfolio on an app called Autopilot. Every month, it buys stock in the companies that are being bought the most by members of Congress. And since we've launched that last year, it's risen around 33%, I believe, whereas the market is up around 24% over the same time frame.
Is either political party worse on this? Does one party trade more than the other one?
We haven't seen any sort of lean one way or the other.
They're all doing this. All of them. Even the president is doing this. Everyone in Congress is doing this. The corruption is everywhere. Okay, I'm sure even the Supreme Court is doing this. They're all doing it. Even if one party was doing it more than the other, it doesn't matter. They're both doing it.
We see suspicious trades on both sides of the aisle.
Are there any other examples of trades that you've been watching recently that you could walk us through?
Back in November, we noticed Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz buying stock in a company called Viasat. And it really caught our eye because it was the first time we'd seen her buy the stock, and it was the first time we'd seen any member buy the stock.
Okay, so Debbie Wasserman Schultz sits on the Appropriations Committee and the Subcommittee on Military Construction. That's not a good look right off the bat.
And then in December, it was announced that Viasat would be awarded part of like a $4 billion NASA contract, and the stock just rose.
Looks like they got another big contract also with the Department of Defense right after the NASA contract.
A couple years ago, we saw representatives.
Some of these videos are so hard for me to do because I get so disgusted and angry. Like, it's just so pathetically sad. I mean, how many empires have fallen because of corruption? And I feel that's where we're going as a country. Because of this political corruption, we're doomed unless we do something soon.
Susie Lee buys stock in a company called Rheinmetall. Which is a German defense contractor, which, I mean, that rang alarm bells for us because it's like, it was a stock we hadn't really seen any members trade before, and obviously very tied into U.S. defense policy.
It's like they're doing a lot of work with the Army lately. Tank modernization, I bet there's big money in that.
Susie Lee sat on a committee on military construction, and since then the stock's risen like, I think 250%. Last year we saw Senator Mark Wayne Mullen buy stock in a company called Badger Meter, which really caught our attention because Badger Meter makes automated water meters, and Senator Mark Wayne Mullen sits on the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works, and we learned that the EPA had recently passed a mandate basically encouraging cities to switch to automated water meters. The year following the trade, Badger Meter...
So he knew that change was coming. He knew that change was coming and traded stock so he can become rich. No one else knew. I didn't know. The public didn't know.
Your stock rose around 40% before Senator Mark Wayne Mullen closed his position. In April of this year, we saw Marjorie Taylor Greene buying up...
Marjorie Taylor Greene's net worth is $22 million. $22 million? An average congresswoman that makes $174,000 a year, her net worth is $22 million.
Stock in dozens of different companies.
Some of these congressmen might have businesses outside of, Congress and making money. It doesn't matter. They're still making millions of dollars on stock. If they have their own businesses outside of Congress, fine, but you can't be insider trading.
And a lot of them were companies which we hadn't seen her buy before, and we hadn't seen almost any members of Congress buy before. So
But I personally think we shouldn't have any rich people in Congress. It should be middle-class people. You have welders and firemen and policemen and people that actually care about making the majority of the country who are middle-class and poor more well-off and passing stuff that actually help the country instead of worrying about becoming billionaires and millionaires and helping your rich actor buddies and billionaire friends.
There's one company which stood out to us in particular, which was Restoration Hardware, which I'd heard of just days earlier when the stock price had plummeted following like the Liberation Day tariff announcements. That was when Marjorie Taylor Greene decided she wanted to buy the stock. And then over the next, I think, week, when the tariff announcements started to get rolled back.
And some people will say, oh, well, welders and policemen and firemen, they're not as educated as the holy rich people that, and these billionaires. These billionaires are dumb. They're dumb. You'll be surprised at how amazing that these average folk will do. These billionaires, just because they saw $1 billion in underwear, he's a genius.
The stock rose like 30%. I think by our estimates in total, she made around $100,000 off of all of those trades she made during the tariff dip. She's claimed that those trades were made by her financial advisor.
Guess what he did? He bought the dip. And that's what anybody that has any financial sense does when they know the market's going to be going down.
I mean, this tariff chaos stuff is crazy. 55 days, 2,200 trades, millions and millions of dollars. Are members of Congress just day traders?
We've been seeing a lot of crypto trades recently.
President Trump is also taking a victory lap today, signing into law the first ever major federal cryptocurrency legislation.
And trading meme coins in general definitely raises an eyebrow.
This all feels so obvious.
He's feeling like I'm feeling right now. Like, oh my God, this is insane.
Okay, let's stop there. After talking to Chris about these trades, I was a little confused and honestly pretty frustrated. I have to wonder, how is nobody going to jail for this?
Insider trading is really hard to prove. You need to show not only did somebody have material, non-public information that could have informed a particular stock trade, but you need to show that they made the stock trade because of that information. So in the rare instances where we do see members of Congress getting convicted of insider trades, it's usually because they made a phone call to somebody or...
You know how to defeat this? Ban stock trading, and you won't have to prove it and try and figure out who's stock trading. Just ban it completely so nobody can do it.
They wrote a text or sent an email.
Okay, so maybe we can't prove insider trading in any of these cases, but
even if you don't buy this story that I'm telling you, even if you think that members of Congress are some of the most talented stock traders in the world, without backgrounds in finance and without trading on insider information.
If anyone believes that, you're an idiot.
And I would say two things. One, even the appearance of trading on insider information is a bad look. It erodes public trust in government. And two, members of Congress holding massive amounts of stock in American companies will likely impact their behavior, consciously or unconsciously. According to the data that we looked at, Democrats love owning tech stocks. I'm talking NVIDIA, Google, Apple, Palantir. It's all over these disclosures. So is it any wonder that we have such a hard time regulating these massive tech?
This is the most important point in this video. This is the most critical thing, so you guys need to understand this, is that if a billionaire gives a politician $100 million for their campaign, how are they going to regulate these billionaires? Who are they going to work for? Are they going to work for us, the middle class, to make our lives better? Or are they going to work for this billionaire to help his businesses and his interests? Think about it. If someone gave you $1 million and like, hey, I'll give you this $1 million, but you have to do X, they're going to do X. They're not going to worry about us. That's the thing. If all of these Democrats, for example, have stock in tech, they're not going to regulate them, even if they break the law, because whatever they're doing, they want those billionaires to make those tech companies as profitable as possible, because then they make money. So why would they regulate those companies? Why would they stop those companies from doing anything? They wouldn't. They wouldn't, because they want to make the money. This is why nothing gets done in our country, because of the corruption.
Companies in the United States? Why would members of Congress vote against their own portfolios? Members of Congress should not be allowed to own stock in the companies that they are tasked to regulate. And it turns out the vast majority of Americans agree with this sentiment. Even the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, thinks congressional trading should be banned.
I mean, I'm in favor of that because I don't think we...
I mean, I'm in favor of it. You know, I'd be down to, you know, block stocks, you know, from trading. What happened? Where's the bill? Why are everyone still stock trading? They always do this. Yeah, you know, I'd be down to, you know, to change the law or whatever, and I don't... Why didn't you change the law? What's being done?
We should have any appearance of impropriety here, okay? But the other side of it, some people say, well, look, you know, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009. You know, when you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made in that year.
This guy is complaining that politicians in Congress only make $174,000 a year, and they haven't gotten a raise in a long time. The average salary in America is 50 grand. You're complaining you're only making 170,000. So, you know, I have to stock trade. I have to break the law and stock trade because I'm only making $174,000 a year. What a joke. What a clown. What a corrupt clown.
Although I'm a little less sympathetic than he is for the poor members of Congress who need sketchy trading to get by on their meager $174,000 per year salary, which is more than double the average American household, by the way. Even the president said that he would sign a ban on congressional stock trading if it was to land on his desk. So what's the holdup? Well, it turns out there's a lot of disagreement on what an actual solution looks like.
And you can see that reflected in the debates in Congress about stock trading this summer.
I sold all my marketable securities. I converted to cash. That hasn't done real well.
People don't believe that we are here for the right reasons. We have a problem.
Okay. we're going to break down the three camps for you.
The first camp thinks there's no problem, that members of Congress aren't insider trading, that the Stock Act works just fine.
Would you vote for a ban on Congress members trading stocks?
Yeah, I mean, this is like number 1,000 on my priority list of things to care about. This is one of those stupid things that I've been dragged through the mud on. You know how much fucking money I've ever had in the stock market? About $20,000.
This guy is a piece of shit, coward, liar. He definitely has more than $20,000 in the stock market. I'll guarantee it. I'll guarantee it. He just wants to continue insider trading.
Hey, this is Christopher.
Hey, Chris, it's Trevor. I'm just wondering, how much does Dan Crenshaw have in the market?
So we currently estimate that Dan Crenshaw has around $76,000.
I called it. Of course he does. This guy's a piece of shit liar. He's a liar. I called it. I haven't seen this video. Of course he's got more than 20 grand. I only got 20 grand in the market. I'm not doing anything wrong.
In stocks, a couple years ago, he had probably upwards of $150,000 or $180,000.
The second camp thinks that there definitely is a problem. They want a ban on congressional stock trading, and they think that family members of these elected representatives should probably be banned from trading stocks too.
Our job is to try to anticipate and legislate for what we see is coming. And we should not have the ability to both have access to that information and be able to hold and trade individual
So do something about it.
stock.
The third camp is more mixed. They think that there is a problem, but they don't think that family members should be banned from trading stocks, or they think it might be okay for members of Congress to use blind trusts for their investments. So until more members of Congress coalesce around one of these camps, we're kind of stuck.
And the reason for all of this is that, quite frankly, members of this body are privy to information that the normal person just is not.
So again, we have plenty of protections. We have the disclosure. This is a completely unnecessary piece of legislation. It's going to create all kinds of unintended consequences.
I don't know how many people in the audience, how many of you don't?
What consequences is it going to cause? That you can't make millions of dollars insider trading? What the fuck? What is this guy talking about? Fucking
want to make money. Anybody want to be poor? I don't.
This guy is actually a scumbag, and he was investigated for millions and millions of dollars of Medicaid fraud, and now this crook is in Congress insider trading.
There have been 19 bills that I could find in the House and Senate that have been introduced. Not a single one of them has been brought to a full floor vote. Now instead, we're busy arguing about whether or not the president and the vice president should be included in the ban, which of course they should. The current system isn't working. Sure, members of Congress have to disclose their trades now. So we're not really stopping this troubling behavior, we're just putting a timestamp on it. They're doing it out in the open. The Stock Act has clearly failed. It hasn't restored public trust in our elected officials. But you know what might help? A ban.
Exactly. A ban. Ban it. This is illegal. These people are crooks. They don't care about us, and this is why nothing gets done. Why would they do anything to help us when they're getting billions of dollars in campaign contributions and all of their stocks are in these huge, Fortune 500 companies? They don't care about the average man. They just care about their companies that they're invested in doing good, and that their buddies who's giving them millions of dollars a year in cushy jobs when they get out of Congress are happy. They're worried about their happiness. They're not worried about our happiness. I don't give any money to politicians in Congress. Why would they do anything for me? They're not invested in my companies because I don't have any companies. Why would they worry about me? This is why nothing gets done for the average person in this country, because they are beholden to rich, powerful corporations and stocks. This is corruption and why nothing gets done.